I'm John Little, and this is the ShockCast, broadcasting on a somewhat chilly Taipei evening on Saturday, December 8th, 2018. Before getting started, let me remind you to watch or listen to this week's YouTube playlist. You can find it in the playlist section of the Omega Shock YouTube channel, in the comments section below, or at the end of this video. Those are the best 10 videos of the past week, and I'm sure that you'll appreciate them as much as I did. Now let's begin today's program. A demonic, psychedelic sorcery. The book of Revelation speaks of sorcerers and sorceries. It's something that was predicted to be a part of the last days, and the core of that word, sorcery, in the original Greek, is pharma, or drugs. We don't normally think of sorcery as something drug-related, but the Bible says differently, and there is something growing in the U.S. that is directly tied to this meaning of that word. It's all about psychedelic drugs, and it's about to go mainstream. They are utterly demonic, and you should stay as far away from them as you possibly can. When I sit down to write, sometimes I know way ahead of time what it is that I will be writing on. Sometimes I merely think that I know what I'm going to write before God taps me on the shoulder and points me in a different direction. Today, or Friday, was one of those days. I was kind of drawing a blank this week on what was the most important thing to write on. The past few days have provided a target-rich environment for choosing topics. But then, on Friday, as I was going through a last few links from the Drudge Report, I ran across this article, titled, "Welcome to the Trip of Your Life, The Rise of Underground LSD Guides." And the subtitle was, "Some Americans searching for alternative paths to healing have turned to psychedelics. But how does one forge a career as a guide when the substances are illegal?" As I started reading it, I realized that I had to write about it, at least a couple of paragraphs. But a couple paragraphs turned into a lot more than that, and there's a very, very good reason for that. Why? Because this article should scare you to death. It certainly scares me, and it's all about something that the Bible calls sorcery, or pharmacopoeia. You will recognize the first part of the word pharma. It's a part of the word pharmaceuticals, which we desperately need if we are to treat certain diseases. I'm alive today because of pharmaceuticals, and you might be too. But pharmacopoeia is different, and I can't say that I really understand what the Bible means by this. Is it pointing to the addictive quality of certain drugs like heroin or other opioids? Maybe. Or is it pointing to the mind-altering aspects of psychedelic drugs? I think that this is even a stronger reason, but I believe that the answer is both. But this article speaks only about psychedelics, and like I said, it scares me to death, and I'm not someone who scares easily. The writer of this piece, Carrie Dunn, went looking for people called psychedelic guides. These psychedelic guides are people who administer LSD, MDMA, ayahuasca, or hallucinogenic psilocybin mushrooms, if I said that correctly, and then sit with them while they experience hallucinations. She went looking, found them, and interviewed 5 of them. And some of what they said gave me the shivers. If you value your eternal life, do not take these drugs voluntarily. Although I believe that God will protect you if you accidentally take them, or if they are forced on you. But never mess around with something that God told you not to play with. Sorcery is the path to demon possession, as you will see later. But let me take a side trip and explain why this discussion is necessary, at least for me. As I tell everyone, I suffer from chronic depression, and it's a life-threatening, bad case of it. And I tell everyone because I know that there are people out there who suffer in silence, who have no idea that others suffer with them. And I also tell everyone because those who do not suffer need to know how to help those who do. And I am so very tired of Christians who don't seem to have an ounce of compassion. But that's a tale for another time. The point is that when you have a chronic problem, you are always on the lookout for solutions. You'd like to get rid of this monkey on your back, especially when it just doesn't seem to budge. Well, people started talking positively about psychedelics when they were, my ears perked up. It made a certain amount of sense, since psychedelics often rewire the brain, and since they were talking about depression being cured, I thought that this might be a great idea. It's not a great idea. Yes, these psychedelics rewire your brain and might even cure anxiety and depression. But they also open you up to a spirit world that God does not wish for you to be open to. There is a reason why we do not see angels or demons, except in rare cases. There is a reason why those cases are rare. Because God is protecting us. It's for our own good. And no, you don't need to understand that. God chose you to be with Him in heaven. He did not choose you to rebel against Him by messing with something that you have no business messing with. And if you do mess with it, you might be proving to us that you were not chosen. But let me show you what I mean. Here's the first of two quotes from the article about someone named Steve, and the writer was talking and quoting this person. Quote, "But if you probe, he might tell you about the time he took psilocybin and a snake god entered his body and left him convulsing on the floor for an hour. The snake god was benevolent, he says, and the convulsing was cathartic, a tremendous discharge of anxious energy." Close quote. Wait, a snake god? Does that sound familiar? It should. The snake in the Garden of Eden. And apparently snake imagery is common in these kinds of hallucinogenic experiences. And I do not believe that this is a coincidence in any way. Why else would people be hallucinating about snakes all the time? Why not giraffes or zebras or fluffy cats? No, there's a reason, and I'm not going to tell you that I understand why. Yes, I believe that there's a connection to the Garden of Eden, but no, I don't understand why it's or how it's connected. All that I have is theories. And here's the second quote from this guy named Steve, and it should make you sit up and take notice if you've been paying attention to some of the demonic alien mythology that has been popping up over the past few decades. Quote, "During an early guided psilocybin session, I realized I'd never adequately dealt with the pain caused by my parents' divorce," Steve says. "There was clearly still this 11-year-old part of myself that was like, I want to be part of a coherent family unit. During the experience, I was given this vision. There's no way to say this that doesn't sound silly, but there was this mother figure who was like half Vedic goddess with a million arms and a million eyes, and half space alien with gray skin. She was this space mother surrounded by this space family, and she just beamed to me this incredible welcoming feeling of, this is the divine family that you stem from." Close quote. A half Vedic goddess, half space alien? You mean half Hindu, half gray alien? Sorry, but I don't like coincidences like this. We are moving quickly towards a satanic deception that many call disclosure. I was just listening to Lionel of Lionel Media loudly proclaiming that space aliens are real and that there's more evidence of them than there is of God, at least according to Lionel. And when someone this cynical and well-connected as Lionel, or also known as Michael William LeBron, starts spouting space aliens as unequivocal truth, I start thinking about heading for the hills. In fact, I also provide a link to his video in the article, and it's down below in the comments, or in the near the comments section below this video. And to tell you the truth, I like Lionel. He's a funny guy with an interesting sense of humor. He's extremely intelligent. Except for the fact that he's rejected God. But like all extremely intelligent people who have rejected God, he's more than willing to believe in space aliens. In fact, if you don't believe in God, you are pretty much forced to believe in space aliens. Worse, old Lionel has been hearing rumors about them from some of his well-connected friends. Are psychedelics going to be a part of the coming of the Antichrist where he claims to be a space alien? I don't know, but I don't like it when I see more and more evidence pointing towards this space alien direction. But let's not stop there. Moving on in the article from Carrie Dunn, she also interviewed someone who calls herself Humminbird. And Humminbird said this, quote, "Shortly after she quit, a friend took her to a ceremony in upstate New York and introduced her to Abuela, as many devotees call ayahuasca, a plant-based tea containing the natural hallucinogen DMT. By then I'd tried everything, mushrooms, LSD, ecstasy, cocaine, but this was different." Humminbird says, "The sky opened up. At the end of a walkway of stars, there was this feeling like you're home. I was flooded with tears of gratitude, and I started talking in this other language, chirping away, talking to birds in the woods." Close quote. Yikes. Talking in another language? I'm not here to condemn the charismatic movement, but many charismatics are that way because they were led into it through an exercise in a kind of transcendental meditation. Some of the services that I've seen lead people into an auto-hypnotic state where this other language manifests itself. Please remember that demonic religions also speak in another language. And no, I'm not accusing the charismatic movement of being demonic. I'm just accusing some in the charismatic movement that they are clearly demonic. And yes, really. Okay, let's see, where was I? Ah, yes, Humminbird. This next quote from the article points out this snake god thing. Quote, "Hummingbird's work with in the psychiatric healthcare system left her concerned that the millennia-old spiritual traditions surrounding psychedelics risk being sidelined in the process of medicalization. Despite psychedelic researchers' attempts to quantify results with tools like the Mystical Experience Questionnaire, trip experiences such as encounters with snake gods tend to fall outside the realm of contemporary scientific understanding." Close quote. Yeah, millennia-old spiritual traditions that have snake gods. That sounds real familiar. And it sounds like something that we should all stay as far away from as possible. I'll keep my mind-numbing, energy-sapping, and chronically painful depression over that. There's no way that I would ever fiddle with something that opens me up to demonic possession. And yes, I realize that taking these drugs won't automatically make you demon-possessed, but it looks like it's a very wide door for demons to enter. And if you rebel against God in something like this, He just might hand you over to Satan for a little demonic possession. Paul speaks of something close to this in 1 Corinthians 5, so don't play around with something this dangerous. And then, the last paragraph in this article quoted someone named Jackie. Quote, "As underground therapists, we have to think, what if the worst thing happened and we went to jail," she says. "But if I went to jail, I think I'd still find a way to serve, and I know it sounds woo-woo, but I somehow feel protected by the mushrooms." Close quote. Protected by the mushrooms? She means the demons that she got from the mushrooms. And she got these demons at a shaman-led ayahuasca retreat in Costa Rica. And that shamanism is a fast lane to demonic possession. Yes, she feels so much better. Demons can do that. There are a lot of things that demons can do, but you don't want to pay the price that they require you to pay. And I fear that one day the world will be offered a deal that it cannot refuse, and only the very elect will remain undeceived. In fact, that phrase, very elect, comes from this verse where Jesus warns us of what is coming. Quote, "For there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect." Matthew 24:24. Will there be something in the water that will cause a mass hallucination? Will there be groups of people here and there that will suffer group hallucinations? Will there be a mix of the live-action deception with hallucinogenic chemicals? I really do not know. I'm as mystified as you are, but I am deeply concerned about the rise of something like this. And I'm willing to bet that we'll be seeing the legalization of psychedelic drugs soon. Real, demonic, psychedelic sorcery is coming, and you do not want to be a part of it. Now we get to what I consider to be the most important part of the ShockCast, the news and analysis from this past week. I wrote the previous bit on Friday, but what follows comes from all the other days of the week. However, before going on, take a moment to click the subscribe button below and hit that bell to be notified when the ShockCast happens. Those of you listening via MP3, make sure that you are subscribed to the Shock Letter at theshockletter.com. And there's a good reason to be subscribed to the Shock Letter, since I usually do not have the time on the ShockCast to talk about more than just a tiny bit of the news that I analyze on the Friday post. So subscribe to the Shock Letter and get all the news and links that I analyze for absolutely free every Friday. Subscribing and unsubscribing is easy, simple, and easy. Oh, I repeat myself even. And there's no way that I would ever share your email with anyone, period. I'm not in this for the money and never will be. And if you signed up and are not receiving the Shock Letter on Friday or the notice of this ShockCast on Saturday, check your spam folder. Thankfully, Microsoft has stopped blocking the Shock Letter, and I am grateful. Why they keep trying to do that is a mystery. Oh, and another example of why I am not in this for the money is my book, Ezekiel's Fire. It represents a gigantic amount of work, but I'm giving it away for free. And you can find it at ezekielsfire.com. Please read that book. It might save your life. Now let's get on to the stuff that I really want to talk about. This next link is connected in a small way to Ezekiel's Fire. Ezekiel's Fire will be a massive event like an EMP, but from the sun. However, this article speaks of a human-caused EMP attack, and I have a suspicion that this might happen before Ezekiel's Fire. We'll see. And it's titled, "Military Warns EMP Attack Could Wipe Out America, Democracy, World Order." This is absolutely and completely the truth, and we have been avoiding this truth for far too long. America is in grave danger, and she's doing nothing about it. However, there's one silver lining to all of this. An EMP attack would stop America from being a source of so much corruption. American Christians would be forced to turn back to God. Maybe there would be a revival. I hate the thoughts of that, but America refuses to turn aside from the dark path that she is on. So maybe this EMP attack will be God's answer to the darkness that in America's heart. And we will have been warned. Something that God always does. The next 3 links are tied together by our capacity for being stupid. And sometimes I can hardly believe how stupid we can actually be. It is truly amazing. And there are few things that amaze me more than the Flat Earth movement. And this link is titled, "Flat Earth Bombshell, Shock Claim Australia is Not Real," from the express.co.uk. And to our friends in Australia and New Zealand, I hope the shock wasn't too much for you. I did not see this article when it came out in April, but Mrs. Little read about this in a post in Chinese, and that got me searching. All I can say is, wow. If there are any of you who believe that the earth is flat, you are a moron. You are dumber than a box of rocks and a bag of hammers. You are terminally stupid. You are a drooling idiot with the ethics of a squirrel. Australia doesn't exist? Are you serious? Well, for 99% of you, the idea is so far beyond stupid that you wonder why I'm talking about this, but only about 99% of you. I know that it's hard to believe, but there is a stubborn minority of Omega Shock readers who think that the earth is flat. And now a bunch of them believe that Australia is a myth created by the government. And please do not write to me with another email about how wrong the earth is. How I'm wrong. The earth is a sphere. I will say that in all capital letters and call you awful names if you persist in sending me emails denying this. Oh, and Mrs. Little will laugh as I froth at the mouth. One of these days, she'll take video of it. Unfortunately, there's a very serious reason for my obsession with the flat earthers, because this is the tip of the iceberg for a larger insanity that we are all vulnerable to. In fact, we are all, in some way, flat earthers. We are all, at one time or another, gullible to the well-crafted, fantastic lie. I've been caught by lies. You have too. They might not have been lies as stupid as the flat earth nonsense, but they are still pretty bad, and our government depends upon us being stupid so that they can continue their accumulation of power. And Satan depends upon this for his accumulation of power. Finance people and salesmen and writers and journalists and a whole host of others depend upon your gullibility to make money selling you stuff. And a part of the reason why we are gullible is that there are certain things that we want to believe. We want to believe that we are good. We want to believe that we are superior to someone else. We want to believe that we have knowledge that other people don't have. In fact, the list of wants is so long that we'd be here all day if I tried to list them. And I'm not sure which wants are plaguing you and keeping you from seeing what is real. But I'm completely certain that there is something that you want deep down that makes you vulnerable to certain well-crafted lies. I know that I am. I know this because I've got my own set of wants that seek to lure me into all kinds of foolishness, and I'm in a constant battle against them. You should be too. Why? Because gullibility leads to blindness, and blindness leads to destruction. Eternal destruction. And ultimately, there's only one antidote to gullibility, and that is the Bible, with the Holy Spirit as our interpreter of that book. To my shame, I wasn't always this emphatic. Because of that, I was a lot more gullible to foolish ideas like the magic bullet that killed JFK, or the 9/11 theory that 2 planes brought down 3 of the World Trade Center buildings. And yes, it was 2 planes and 3 buildings. You do the math. So please devote your life to Christ, to reading the Bible, and to the leadership of the Holy Spirit. The greatest deception of all time is coming, and we need to be armed against that. Then we move to a more mundane bit of stupidity with this next link, and hold on to your seat. Substitute teacher tells first grade students Santa Claus isn't real. Not long after writing my diatribe against the flat earth foolishness that I just told you about, I read this stunning example of fantastic stupidity. Here's the article in all of its moronic and ironic glory. Quote, "One teacher will be getting coal this holiday season. A New Jersey school district is apologizing for a substitute teacher who told first grade students that Santa Claus isn't real. Cedar Hill School Principal Michael Raj sent a letter to parents following the incident Thursday at the school in Montville. Raj noted that, as a parent himself, he understands the sensitive nature of the topic." Come on, guys, it's Santa Claus. Anyway, moving on. Montville School Superintendent Renee Rofdar said in a statement that she was troubled and disheartened by this incident. Rofdar explained that childhood wonder associated with all holidays and traditions is special to her. Raj says that He has spoken with the teacher about her poor judgment. Administrators haven't released the teacher's name or said if she would be allowed to work again in the district. Close quote. They are apologizing for a teacher making the mistake of telling her students the truth? I can hardly believe it. This is the kind of flat earth stupidity that I'm talking about. In fact, I'm wondering if flat earthers were taught that Santa Claus was real when they were kids. Maybe that belief in the unreal was instilled in them at an early age, leading to a pattern of belief in the fanciful. Parents, it's never too early to not lie to your kids. Lying to your kids is not a good idea if you want them to grow up to be responsible adults. Just look at the world around you. Okay, here's my third link in my diatribe on stupidity. And it has a very serious point to it, maybe even more than the previous two, because it deals with our ability to speak the truth to the lies growing around us. It's titled, California Wildfires, Internet Conspiracies Spread Like Fire. Those of you who are cooking up conspiracy theories like the ones in this article are doing damage to our efforts to uncover what is really going on. 9/11 was an in-your-face conspiracy, but those who make up stupid and moronic conspiracy theories are muddying the waters so much that we will never bring the planners of 9/11 to justice. The morons creating stupid theories are just as much a part of the problem as the foul and evil Satanists who are conspiring against us. Please, I'm begging you, only work with hard facts, not supposition. If you don't have cold, hard, undeniable facts, sit down and shut up. Please. Let the adults in the room talk about this, okay? All right, anyway, I'll climb down off my... Moving on. I am pleased to be able to share 4, yes, count them 4, links that are completely and utterly positive, and I don't often get to do that. The first one is about John Holler's prophecy update. John Holler's prophecy updates are just plain awesome. He does a great job, and he has a lot of knowledge, intelligence, and wisdom to do that job with. I strongly recommend that you subscribe to the Fellowship Bible Chapel. The YouTube channel is, well, I leave a link in the comment section below, and of course, if you're a subscriber, you can see the link yourself. I strongly believe that you'll be glad that you did subscribe to that channel. And if you live in Columbus, Ohio, or within driving distance of the northeast suburb of Columbus, Ohio, and if you're looking for a church, check out Fellowship Bible Chapel. They really seem to have the truth. They seem to know what is important, and they are dedicated to what the Word actually says. They really seem to be like a good church. Of course, you have to go and spend time with them to actually see if they are what they seem. So just because I see good things on the video, you're going to have to see for yourself. This next one is probably the most awesome of the 4 links. And it's titled, it's actually the name of their website, To Build a School, Our School Building Adventure in Rural Kenya. John, or is it Sarah, left a comment in last week's post posing an important point about our purpose as Christians in this world, and it reminded me of what they are doing in Kenya. And all I can say is, wow. What John and Sarah are doing is truly impressive, going out to rural Kenya and building a school for those who desperately need it most, and sharing the love of Christ while they are doing it. Well, I cannot begin to express my awe and respect for those who do something like that. And they aren't just building schools, they're also doing their best to build up those Christians and to share Christ with those who are caught in darkness. And there is much darkness in Kenya. What an awesome thing that they are doing. But such awesomeness requires help, even if it's just a bit of moral support. So click that link that I provide. It's in the description section below. And do what you can. If it's just a word of encouragement, that would be a lot. God bless you, John and Sarah. A crown awaits in heaven for all who serve as they do. And here is the third bit of positive news. Tumblr will delete all porn from its platform. From TechCrunch. A friend from Vietnam told us about this a couple days before I saw it here, and when I heard that, I did a little cheer with a big yes. I hate porn with a passion, and so does God. And I put a lot of work into making sure that I never do business with companies that promote porn or host porn on their servers. This has meant that I had to work extra hard to find servers that didn't host porn sites. That has been extremely difficult to do. Pornography has been Satan's biggest tool in the destruction of our values, cohesion, and even our ability to think straight. And America is the biggest source of porn in the world. 90% of all porn comes from the U.S. And as I have said before, half of all pastors are regular consumers of pornography. And yes, you heard that right. Half. The quickest way to put your eternity in doubt is to open the floodgates of hell via the massive amount of free, hardcore pornography. It will destroy your mind and everything that you are, and you will become the very thing that God despises most, a hypocrite. Sanctimonious on the outside, vile and evil on the inside. So, I rejoice that Tumblr has taken this big step, and I didn't think too much about why until I saw this. Why now? Tumblr app, quote, I'm sorry, I'm quoting from the article. Why now? Tumblr app was removed from the iOS App Store several weeks ago due to an issue with its content filtering that led the company to issue a statement. We're committed to help building a safe online environment for all users, and we have a zero tolerance policy when it comes to media featuring child sexual exploitation and abuse. The company had detailed, we're continually assessing further steps we can take to improve, and there's no higher priority for our team. Close quote. Ah, Apple. Even though Steve Jobs died 7 years ago, his influence still remains. And he is famous for this quote. Folks who want porn can buy an Android phone. That's a great quote. Since Steve is dead, I can't ask God to bless him, but I can thank God that Steve stood against pornography. And his stance is just one more reason why I have admired what he did and who he was. I know that Steve struggled with the idea of God for most of his adult life. Off and on, he would believe that God existed, and then he wouldn't. People with true brilliance are often way too intellectual about who God is. My great hope is that in the final years of his life, he embraced the one and only true God. It's a slim hope since we have no evidence to work with, but his stance against pornography is something that makes me want to hope. And that's a good thing. And finally, I get to talk about the awesomeness of someone who looks like a great politician. And I never get to do that. Well, almost never. And no, Donald Trump does not measure up to this guy. Governor Matt Bevin destroys gun control, family breakdown, violence desensitization. That's hard to say. It's a YouTube video. Prepper Gal sent this to me, and it is so awesome. I was like, yes, 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 yes. I say Matt Bevin for president. This guy covered all the bases, while the woman who asked the question smirked and rolled her eyes. Governor Bevin's response was spot on. The blame for kids shooting up schools is morality, not guns. He talked about kids being exposed to pornography. He talked about the murder of the unborn in violent games. He mentioned that parents no longer interact with their kids. This is the kind of moral politician that I can enthusiastically and unconditionally support. This is a truly impressive video of a truly impressive man. Well done. And thank you so much for sharing that with us, PG. It is so rare to see such a ray of hope amid so much evil. May God bless Governor Matt Bevin And may God bless Kentucky for electing him. Now we get back to the negative news, and if you are a Catholic or have Catholic friends, listen up. It's titled, Gay Trend Influencing the Catholic Clergy. Pope. Ya think? What was it that Paul said to Timothy? Oh yes, he said this, quote, Now the Spirit speaketh expressly that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils, speaking lies and hypocrisy, having their conscience seared with the hot iron, forbidding to marry, and commanding to abstain from meats. Hear that, Seventh-day Adventists? Which God hath created to be received with thanksgiving of them which believe and know the truth. Close quote. 1 Timothy 4, verses 1 to 3. That's right. Forbidding to marry. That's the Roman Catholic Church, and they've got the doctrine of devils and speaking lies and hypocrisy down pat. They've got lots of experience. The Roman Catholic Church is the biggest bunch of lying liars on the planet. And there's a lot of lying liars out there. And now for our last bit of depressing news, and it speaks to 2,000 years of history and why Israel must exist, and why we are in the last days. It's titled, Anti-Semitism Rises in Canada, Jews Remain Most Targeted Minority Group, Diaspora, Jerusalem Post. For decades, actually centuries, the Jews have been the biggest target of racism ever. No one, per capita, has suffered more. Yes, there are times when certain groups suffered greatly, especially in certain places in the world. But no one has suffered like the Jews. No one. And it is rare to see a non-Jewish publication report on this suffering. Over the last few decades, when people were talking about the discrimination against the blacks, did they talk about the racist attacks on the Jews? No. Never, or at least hardly ever. It has been the policy of the Jews to suffer in relative silence, and I am sickened by those who attack the Jews. I would dearly love to crush the evil in our midst, but God has not given us permission to do that. So I am stuck with being incredibly sorry that the Jews are going through this. Boy, I despise neo-Nazis. Well, that's it for this week's ShockCast. I truly hope that you'll be ready for what is coming. A prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on, and are punished. Proverbs 22:3. If you find a flaw in my reasoning, have a question, or wish to add your own viewpoint, leave a comment on the Omega Shock website or in the comments section below. Omega Shock readers and ShockCast listeners leave awesome comments, and I value each and every one of them. Again, make sure that you are subscribed to the Shock Letter at theshockletter.com. For those of you on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and click the bell to get notifications. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. All of that helps you and me get the message out. And as this video ends, you'll see links appear in the boxes within this video. Those links will take you to other ShockCasts, a link to subscribe to the ShockCast, as well as a link to the playlist of the important videos of this past week. And you will see the links to that playlist in the comments section below. And don't forget my book, Ezekiel's Fire, at ezekielsfire.com. You need to read that book, and it's free. And so, allow me to close with this blessing from Numbers 6:24 to 26. Yevarechecha Yehovah Yeshmerecha. Ya'er Yehovah Panav Elecha Vichuneka. Yisa Yehovah Panav Elecha V'yasem Lecha Shalom. The Lord bless thee and keep thee. The Lord make his face shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. The Lord lift up his countenance upon thee and give thee peace. Numbers 6:24 to 26. May your pastor give you the words that you need to hear to help you walk the path that God has called you to follow. And Lord willing, we will see each other next week.